Hello everybody and welcome to That's Football. How has Mikel Arteta made Arsenal good again? And I think it would be wrong not to discuss it, because I did say at the start of the season, if Arsenal get top four, they should build a statue of Arteta outside. And that sounds ridiculous now, but that was a statement that I think many people would have gone along with at the start of the season, and therefore it shows the enormity of what Arsenal are on the cusp of achieving. They are favourites for top four. So how has he done it? How has Arteta turned Arsenal around, made them a good side? I'm not going to say great, I'm not going to say that they couldn't slip again, because they could, but they are consistently winning games, playing well. And if they carry on with that through April, they will get top four, which is a major achievement when most of us, myself as a United fan included, felt that top four was closed off. So how has Arteta done this? And I think the first thing to say is to look at the team, the first team that he picks. Now, I don't think Bellerin actually started, but Leno did, David Luiz did, Ozil did, Aubameyang did, Torreira did. And obviously Bellerin was around that team, and there was a few others as well who are no longer at the club. And I think there's two things that I would shout out to Manchester United straight away that Arteta has done. Arteta was a manager that had no experience, ex-player for Arsenal, but Ollie was an ex-player for United. That's not enough in itself. Intelligent midfielder for Everton and Arsenal, but mainly spent his time under Pep Guardiola for a few years before this Arsenal job. I think if you spent 2 weeks as Pep's assistant, you would learn a lot. He spent more than 2 years there. And under Pep Guardiola, you've got one of the most methodical, intense, great managers in world football. So you're going to learn a lot. So effectively, it's a bit like Ten Hag with Manchester United, isn't it? It's a calculated risk, because you are bringing in a manager that is renowned in the game for being, very forward-thinking, very modern football. And Arteta, working under Pep Guardiola, had that as well. Funnily enough, Ten Hag spent 2 years working under Pep Guardiola as well. But we're talking about Arsenal here. The second thing that he did, Arsenal brought him in and gave him the trust, which we've seen came in December 2019. They gave him the trust. The second thing he's done that Manchester United should take note of is when I mention Aubameyang, Leno, Bellerin, and David Luiz and Ozil. 5 big personalities in that Arsenal team. If you'd gone back to December 2019 and I'd said Leno, Bellerin, Aubameyang, Ozil, David Luiz, they'd be 5 of the biggest earners and biggest personalities in that Arsenal dressing room. And they're all gone now, apart from Leno, who sits on the bench for Ramsdale. They've been taken out of that team. Now, I know for a fact that certain Arsenal fans were WhatsApping some of these players. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but it just shows you that Arsenal had become disconnected. There was fan favourites who probably didn't deserve to be in the club anymore, who were protected, and it'd all become a complete and utter mess. And ultimately, Arteta came in and was like, these players need to go. Now, Aubameyang only recently went, and I think Lacazette will be one of the ones that goes soon as well, maybe for different reasons, but ultimately, a lot of those players that were big personalities that Arteta identified as having a grip on the dressing room went. And people like Saka and Smith Rowe and new signings like Ramsdale and Ben White and Gabriel have all come in and taken over a spine. And there is now a spine at Arsenal. Whether you think it's a good spine or not, you've got Ramsdale in goal, you've got White, Gabriel as the first choice centre-backs. Obviously, I would include Kieran Tierney. I think, all right, he's a left-back, but he's a big core of that team. You've then got a midfield two of Xhaka and Partey's been brought in. Odegaard's been brought in, and obviously they want a striker, but they've got people like Saka as well, who's fundamental to that team, and Smith Rowe as well. So they've rebuilt that team under Arteta, and it's his team. They're all loyal to Arteta because he's brought those players in, or he's developed those players. There's another factor as well, and look, banter aside, you will find tweets from me and stuff where I was bantering Arsenal, because that's just a United fan or a Liverpool fan or a Chelsea fan bantering Arsenal, because that's what you do. Anybody who's watching That's Football for probably the last 2 years now, I have been saying, I don't really understand why Arsenal fans are going in on Arteta, because as an outsider, I can see exactly what he's doing. And I've ripped the piss out of them for finishing 8th, and I'll rip the piss out of them if they lose again, because that's just what you do. But I have been quite vocal about, I feared what was happening with Arteta, and lo and behold, it's come. When he first came into that team, to manage the team, they did play quite counter-attacking. Back 5 a lot of the time. I think they played a back 5 in the FA Cup final against Chelsea. They won 2-1. That, to me, was a big moment. I tried to not make it a big moment. I said, well, it's only the FA Cup. But look at United. We've not won a trophy in, well, it will be 6 years because we're not winning anything this year. And although someone like Solskjaer took us to semi-finals and finals and lost, Arteta in his first final, he won. that to me probably doesn't get the credit it deserved. Arsenal fans were going, Arteta, Arteta, a few months later. And I think, hopefully with time, I certainly appreciate it as a United fan. Hopefully Arsenal fans do as well. That FA Cup win 5 months after taking over was enormous. It's not going to be as big as 4th place, because I believe 4th place in these circumstances is unbelievable. And I'll explain why in a moment. But that FA Cup win was absolutely enormous. And he deserved a lot of credit for that, because getting to that final and then beating Chelsea in the final. It's all right getting to the final and going, well done, in your first 6 months you've done that. You know, Ollie'd feast off that. He'd get a 3-year contract. But he won it. He won it. And the rebuild was still very much on at the time. So, fantastic what he did then. And then I think ever since then, he won the FA Cup. And I think Arteta and the club probably thought, we've won the FA Cup. We've got a bit of something in the bank with the fans now. They'll be a bit more patient with us. And he then went about rebuilding that team. He then went about changing the formation. And I think his first full season was very up and down, mountains and valleys. And I think that's where some fans didn't give him the patience he deserved. I think that's when the T-shirts came out. I think that's where some of the Artetas came out, because they couldn't. They wanted to see a kick on from the FA Cup win, and obviously, when you look at it, it wasn't going to happen, because he still had a lot of those personalities at the club. He didn't have the first transfer window that he wanted. He was still very much in the rebuild, and he was still transforming from this counter-attacking football that he had to play to get results to a more expansive football that you see now. And I think the big summer for Arsenal was last summer, when he could bring in people like Ben White and Ramsdale, and he got Odegaard on a full-time deal, and he cleared more of the dead wood. And then you started to see this season more consistently this back four, the midfield two, the 3 attackers and the attacker on their own. And you've started to... I've certainly seen it over the last 5 months. When Arsenal are playing a game, I can predict 8 or 9 of their players. I'd say for the last 6 years, I wouldn't be able to predict 5 or 6. You never knew what team there was going to happen. That's stability when you can do that. And now what you see is an Arsenal side with a set formation, a set style of play, a vision of Arteta's. And I look at the summer and I go, I mean, I'm really glad they didn't get Vlahovic in January, but if they go and get like a Darwin Núñez or someone like that, they're going to get... You can see Arsenal's growth. If they get 4th place now, you can see next season where they can add. They need another midfielder that can compete with Xhaka and Partey, maybe replace Xhaka, and then they need a striker. And anything else is a bonus. But those two players in that system makes Arsenal better next season. Young manager, young team, playing good football, the confidence that they will have. And the reason 4th place is better than the FA Cup is the FA Cup is a handful of games. It's cup competition. 4th place, which was a closed shop at the start of the season, you get it playing 38 games. You play everybody twice. Now, people will say, well, winning a trophy is better than 4th place. I understand that, but 4th place gets you in the Champions League, and you get there by playing 38 games. Whether a trophy is more important than 4th or not, the volume of games you've got to play to get there makes it far more difficult than winning the FA Cup, in my opinion. And if Arsenal do it, it's a major achievement for Arteta. And I would be stunned if there are still Arsenal fans not eyes wide open to what has happened. And hopefully what I've said over the last few minutes explains what he's done in a very basic way, but in a very detailed way. He's taken Arsenal from being a team that was a joke to a team that is now respected and is a very good side and has potential to get even better. We can't predict that. We can't even predict they'll get top 4. I really hope they don't. I hope they crash and burn. But the reality is, I don't think that's going to happen, because I think they've got a belief. I think they've got a system, and I think they're playing for each other and they're playing for the manager, and that is something that's way more valuable than signing £100 million players and thinking they're going to turn your whole club's history around, which seems to be my club's approach. Anyway, smash a like on the video, get your comments in below, make sure you subscribe, give us your thoughts, and we'll be back again soon with another video.